Welcome, everyone. This is Finally Needles, and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in LOTRO and here at LOTRO Players. And this week we have with us Terry Adwin.
Hi.
And Maven.
Hey, y'all.
And please welcome our special guest for tonight, Cinders.
Hello.
Yay.
Welcome to the show this week, Cinders, and we will start our little initiation.
You didn't know there would be an initiation.
That sounds more terrifying than what I was prepped for.
Okay.
I was like, wait a minute, I thought she was prepped for this.
Yes. We'll ask you how you got into Tolkien, into LOTRO, and into the LOTRO community.
That's what I was prepped for.
Okay.
In all honesty, this would not be the first time that Sans has not prepped her for something.
That is true.
Well, how did you get started with Tolkien?
So Sans took a class in college on, I believe it was writers from Great Britain, and she recommended Tolkien to me, and I'd already was familiar with C.S. Lewis, and so I was like, oh, okay. And I put it off for a few years, and then she loaned me her copy of The Lord of the Rings, and I started reading it, and then I got really freaked out by the black writers to the point where I could only read like one page at a time. They weren't even out of, the Shire at that point. And so Sans asked me if I had finished the book yet, and I was like, I can't. So she had to tell me that, they're not going to die. It's okay. And then what ended up happening was I did an overnighter for one of the school activities, and I stayed up all night and read the rest of the book.
Whew. All right. I would presume that she was involved in your coming into LOTRO also?
Yes, she was. So in May, she decided that it was something that I should do, and she talked me into at least giving it a chance. And we discovered that I really liked it and that it was something fun that we could both do together. And so that would be how I got into LOTRO, and I've kind of been her tag-along ever since.
Her little tag-along ever since.
Yes.
Has she gotten involved in any of the LOTRO community work yet?
I'm not sure how that works. I don't know how to answer that question necessarily.
Okay.
Well, I'm in Kins, and I've done a couple of things like scourge hunting and stuff like that, but other than that, not what I would define as being part of the LOTRO community.
Well, you joined us on Girls.
Oh yeah, I guess that would count too.
It sounds like something else that Sans may have roped you into.
Roped me into it might be too broad of a term, but she was like, you should do this. It's lots of fun. And I was like, okay, you haven't steered me wrong yet. So. She does a really good job making sure I don't get myself into too much trouble. So.
Mm-hmm. Yes. It's hard to avoid her when she lives in the same house.
Yes, it can be very difficult to avoid her when she lives in the same house.
Then let's head into our game news for this week. And we'll begin with a letter it's a post on the forums by executive producer Severin on the upcoming class balance work that they are doing, which isn't done yet. In fact, it's only just beginning.
Can I read the post? I want to read the post.
All right.
Go back up to read the post because I went down to look at some other posts. Okay, so the post from Severlin reads, we are currently through much of our DPS testing. Mitigation, healing throughput, and utility will be trickier, but we are working on them. We are currently eyeing Hunter Blue and Runekeeper Red lines as our baseline trees that define what a DPS should be doing. Runekeeper is probably a bit high, but we'd rather adjust up than do a lot of nerfs. Rather than doing class passes and doing massive changes to each class and each tree in turn, we plan to do distributed changes to classes that need it, coupled with bug fixes. That means each class will see approximately 3 to 6 meaningful changes that are put out more quickly, and when we do that, we can reevaluate and begin the process again. Each stage will fine-tune class balance. Our goal is to bring changes to many classes in stages rather than hitting each class in turn and leaving some classes waiting on changes and fixes for a long time. The weakness of this approach is that players who are passionate about their favorite class, which is essentially all of the players, will have the initial reaction after the first pass that much more work needs to be done on their particular class. It is a side effect of this distributed tuning strategy, where fixes and improvements come in waves. The other weakness of this approach is that the classes in most need of overhauls, cough Bjorning, cough, will probably need more work because they are in need of more than bug fixes and tuning, so they might break this strategy a bit. Nonetheless, our current thought is that this approach is preferable to a cycle of doing each class in turn, where some classes don't see changes for months or years. We do still have some systems work for Update 22. That said, we hope to have the first wave of balance changes out to Palantir in early to mid-March. Obviously, that will create rounds of feedback, and Bull Roar will follow when adjustments have been made based on initial feedback and internal testing. Sev. And so can I just say that the fact that their baseline for DPS is Blue Line Hunter and Red Line Runekeeper, and there's no mention in here at all of Champion, whose only job is DPS?
I think that means that they're saying that champions are underpowered, so therefore that's not why it's not being used as a baseline.
I hope so, because that's a lot of when it seems like when a lot of people talk about DPS, they're actually talking ranged DPS, and there are two types of DPS. There's ranged DPS and melee DPS, and champion is like champion is the champion of melee DPS.
Champion is the champion of melee DPS, but melee DPS is vastly underscored by ranged DPS.
Well, maybe there'll be an improvement.
And actually, there's a post further down in the line that addresses and suggests that maybe they should make a distinction between melee / tactical DPS, or ranged and tactical DPS,
right,
versus melee DPS, because they're really not the same thing.
Right.
And then the other thing that's mentioned further down the line is the partial block parry evade, which doesn't apply to ranged and tactical because ranged tactical is either it is or it isn't. There's never any partial, whereas melee classes are severely impacted by it. It sucks, guys. It really sucks.
Any other comments related to this letter?
I'm going to be interested to see. I mean, this is going to be interesting to see when it rolls out.
Well, to me, it suggests that we'll actually see changes coming probably in Update 23. Because I think they're not looking at doing it for Update 22. Based on, he says their systems work prepping for Update 22. So I don't think they're planning to finalize class changes in 22.
Well, especially said when they say that they aren't planning to.
And they're not planning to bring us even on Palantir until late March, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm getting the impression that they're shooting for Bull Roar for 22 to be in, next week. I think Groundhog Day is what they're shooting for.
Yeah. They had they had kind of hoped to have it out already, so we haven't seen it yet because they're still playing with things. But
yeah, but I got the impression that during the Court of the Rings that he said that they're shooting for February. Actually, I think he accidentally said January 2nd, but I think he meant February 2nd.
Probably.
Which would be next Friday. So yeah, that would be.
Right. That's why I think they're shooting for Groundhog Day. Which hopefully that doesn't mean that some sort of error will keep on repeating.
Yeah, or if it sees its shadow, it goes,
Yeah.
something, does something.
It sees its shadow and runs away until next spring. No.
That's right. Shadow of Mordor. Oh, no, that's different.
Let's head into the LOTRO Beacon for this week, which is presented by Olive Yu. And she's been signing the last few LOTRO Beacons, and I must say that until I heard Cordovan mention it yesterday on Court of the Rings that Olive Yu was now editing the beacon, I had not noticed that she was signing it.
Oops.
Yeah, so therefore, yes, we do have someone new doing the beacon in there, and it looks
She's
like
their marketing person.
Yeah, she is their new member of the marketing team on helping. We'll see if we can have some updates to the marketing, since the marketing team has been a little bit light recently, I feel.
We need more wardrobe sales. We need Metro coins on sale about every other week.
Yes.
I don't think she listens to the podcast, so.
Oh, bummer.
Oh, well, maybe Cordovan has to still train her on a few things. And our title screenshot is from the Winterfest, I guess? Or is that something else?
I can't tell what that's from, actually. That's not from Mule Festival. I think that's Wildemore.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, now that I think of it, Wildemore might be more logical.
By the way, you guys just made me think of it when you were asking that question. This is a complete non sequitur, but hey, what the heck? This is LOTRO Players News, and that's what we're all about here. I was watching Grifflet's stream yesterday, and Grifflet has gotten as far as Tour Morva, so he's running around doing errands for the Falcon Clan and watching the Rangers, lift and carry.
Right.
And he had his music on, and I think when I've been in there, I don't normally play the music, so I was thinking, golly, that music sounds really familiar. What is it? It's the Winterfest music.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, well, that is weird. So does that music play any place else where it's snowy, or is it just
It's just Tormova.
That is weird. Makes me wonder where Winterfest actually is located. Anyway, I just thought that was odd to pick, and then I thought, well, maybe if it plays in every, in all the snowy places, but if it doesn't, I mean, you'd think maybe it would be like music that would go with whatchamacallit, for a cow, Anyway, I just was surprised. That's all.
All right.
Carry on.
Then let's head to this community spotlight where the Prancing Pony podcast discussed Tolkien with Michael Drought, and there is a link to the interview for that. And for our kin hall, the Sons of Numenor is a 10-year-old social kin on Langeable server where members are encouraged to share their path. They are seeking people committed to helping build and improve their community. So that's a Sons of Numenor 10-year-old. So we probably are getting around to the time where we'll start to run into some 11-year-old kins maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are a few kids, I think, that go all the way back to beta. And that'll be about 11 years now when we're in beta. But let's have our weekly comment, and let's talk about music. What area has the best soundtrack? Oh, speaking of soundtracks, do you have a favorite in-game band, and what instrument does your character play? So there are 3 questions this week. So we'll begin. What area has the best soundtrack?
Oh, God. How do you pick?
Yeah.
Well, for me,
no
Mordor,
kidding.
just because I have a thing for the Mordor soundtrack. I mean, up until that point, it was probably a cross. It was probably a tie between Chance Thomas's Moria and his Rohan.
Right.
But for me, Mordor totally surpasses both of those.
Right. Maven?
I am torn between Well, I really love the Rohan soundtrack. I have that DVD and I just really like it a lot. So that's probably my first choice. But I have a nostalgic attachment to the music around Bree. Whenever I hear it, and it's like, and it plays in other places in the game, it's just, I don't know. It's like, oh, I remember when I was a baby toon and I was running through Bree, and I mean, it's like I get all like nostalgic. So I have sort of a soft place in my heart for that. But I think that, as far as like what do I really what really moves me is the Rohan soundtrack.
Cinders?
Generally, I don't have my volume on when I'm playing because, especially when there's conflict, it tends to make me really anxious. And so I find that it's better for me as a player to not have it on. And I also haven't had a lot of experience with all of the areas. My level capped carry was Ariad. My level cap character was Ariad. So she hasn't been everywhere yet. And she's my highest level right now. And so like I haven't been into places like Rohan and things like that to know those soundtracks. But right now my preference would be for the Shire.
All right. In my case, I had gone several years where I was not playing the music. When I was recording stuff like that, for a long time, I was just avoiding in there, but because Standing Stone has made it pretty clear that you are allowed to play with the music on, when Mordor came out, I did change that policy. So that's when I finally started having the music on again when I'm regularly play. So of course, the first music that's now most familiar in my head is the Mordor music. Though I do like playing the old soundtrack in my car when I'm driving on there, so therefore I do still have a bit of a spot for the Shire and Bree area stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it is sort of a toss-up between those. So for the time being, I'll go with the Shire stuff. So now, favorite in-game band. Anybody have a favorite?
I don't know who the bands are.
Hands down for me, Lonely Mountain Band.
Oh, you mean John DiBartolo Lonely Mountain Band, or is there actually
No, like the
Lonely Mountain?
in-game Lonely Mountain Band? They do Ales and Tales. They do a roleplay event once a week. And I actually was a regular attendee there for a little while, not as Terry Adwin, so nobody would recognize me, but as Pepper, my little mini hobbit, my mini tankstrel hobbit. Yeah, she and her partner in crime would fairly regularly attend those events, and I actually have been known to play music at the open mic sessions, but that's been at least a year and a half since I've been to one of those. But I mean, a lot, pretty much every LOTRO band I've ever heard has been really fantastic. The other one that I really like is Debuggins, and both of those are on Landraball primarily.
Yes, I've always had a liking for the Shades, who are on Laurelin, though they do quite a bit of traveling to other servers.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure that Cinders hasn't had enough experience with the bands yet.
No, I have not, but I do see people from the Lonely Mountain Band running around all the time, so that is a kid name I'm familiar with.
Yeah, you see them everywhere. They're all over the place.
And Maven, do you have one to say, or have you already given your comment, pretty much?
No, I really don't. I don't know the bands. Yeah.
All right. Then let's say, what instrument does your character play? And how about Terry?
Well, as you all know, I have more than one character. Terry Adwin, particularly, does not play an instrument. Champions don't play music, and she's really not like a fun-seeking champion because she really doesn't do anything fun. She doesn't go to like parties. She doesn't hang out and like socialize with people. She's in the game. She's
a warrior.
She's a warrior. She's in the game to kill things, and that's basically it. My minis tend to vary based on their personality. So my Hobbit minis tend to the loot. just because it's easy to play and sing. Sarissa also used to carry a lute because burglars don't really have much in the way of ranged items because they're not allowed bows. So it was more often that she would carry a lute around than use one of the fellowship signals, because the signals are only good like for the first couple minutes that you use them, unless you're going to use fellowship maneuvers, and after level 50 you don't use fellowship maneuvers because they haven't been skilled up. So and then I have my challenge mini, her instrument of choice or weapon of choice was the clarinet. And I don't remember why I picked clarinet. I just liked the sound of it. I liked the way the minstrel skill sounded on the clarinet for that particular character, because minstrel skills will sound differently based on the instrument that you pick.
I did not know that.
Maven. Oh, yes. Okay. Maven, do you have a favorite instrument for your character's
No,
play?
I just default to a lute.
Okay. Right. Cinders.
We went through a great big thing, and I think it was Goblin Town to get drums for my main character to play, but I've not fiddled with it since then to know if she actually can play it and how it sounds.
Oh, the encore drum. It's actually an invisible drum.
Yeah.
Also, that's probably actually my favorite instrument in the game is the encore drum, because it's invisible, because you basically look like you're beating the air, but it does make a drum sound. That would be Amorian, since that's the Grand Stairs.
Oh, can
That's
remember
right.
Moria?
And
Which
Yeah.
which I have done like many times because I love it.
When I ran
Okay.
as a chicken, Cable Knit, who's one of our girls, best known as the Yellow Hobbit, played the chickens played us. She played it. She used that invisible drum thing, and she played the chickens.
She was playing the chickens, yes.
And for my case, back when I used to play in a band, I normally played the clarinet, and pretty much that sounds like, I think I usually gravitate for that when I'm playing a minstrel. I can't remember because I haven't been playing my minstrels too much lately as to what they're actually playing, but if I was going to base it based on what I like the sound of, it'll probably be the clarinet. Then let's have a look at our screenshot of the week, and this week's shot is posted by LOTRO Gal on Twitter, and she's standing in the field of flowers.
Yeah, it's a great shot.
And does anyone recognize the exact place for that?
I don't. I've been trying to figure out where it is. It's really great. Wonder if it says on the Twitter.
And while she looks that up, there is a note that Stefala interviewed Cordovan, and that there is a link in the Let's Talk Shop section of the Beacon for this interview. And there is an updated list of events that are happening all throughout 2018, such as this week being VIP weekend and the various special weekends that they will have coming up. Did you find anything on the Twitter, or shall we finish up on the Beacon?
It's in the fields in Bree.
In the fields in Bree.
It looks
Wow.
like a Bree sky to me, so I thought it was Bree, but yes, it's identified on her Twitter as fields outside of Bree.
It's really neat because it looks almost like
Gotta
a
be the-
watercolor.
Western side of Bree.
Yeah. Then let's head into our store sales for this week. And Terry Adwin, what's on sale that's going to get us all excited?
Nothing.
Oh.
Free sample this week is a rejuvenation potion ×5 with coupon code REJUVPOT, REJUVPOT. And then 20% off virtues and virtue bundles, trait slots, and skill and slayer debuts. Meh.
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 Then let's head into our site news, and we have the LOTRO Family Chicken Run Marathon. Whee! That's a mouthful.
Yeah, this is an event that Aerother's doing in conjunction with LOTRO Family. Fibro Jedi of the LOTRO Family Twitter recently celebrated the whole year of being on Twitter, and it's actually kind of amazing because it's one person doing a ton of work, and as much stuff as is accomplished by the Twitter account, it's like should be like a team of people, but it's really just one guy. And so they're going to do a chicken run together, and leading up to it, Aerother's going to vodcast his previous runs. So he's got a Crossroad of Roads run that he did. He's got his inaugural Minas Tirith run, which, by the way, he did before there was a title for a Minas Tirith run. And then they're going to follow it up by taking the chickens to Mordor.
Whee!
Which you also still don't get a title for at the moment. So.
Oh, they'll add the title to update 22, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
It should be fried chicken.
It should be fried chicken, yes. That would be most appropriate.
I like hot wings.
Hot Wings is also pretty good, yeah. I know it was Lord of the Wings for Minas Tirith.
Yeah. Unless you're a girl, which is kind of a...
Yeah, and then it was Lady of the Wings. It really should still be Lord of the Wings.
I agree.
It should be a non-gender specific title.
Yeah.
Then let's head into our new player question. And Cinders, what is your question?
So my question is actually about the chicken run. How does it work? Where would you pick up the session play? What do the chicken tenders do? And is it level specific? Questions like that. Because I have only done one session play, and it was interesting, but Sans mentioned that there were way more things that you can do with the chickens. And I was like, I want to know. But she didn't know more than that. So, tell me about the chicken run.
Go ahead, Terry.
What? Why me? I haven't.
Oh, I don't know.
I haven't actually done the chicken run. I mean, I've never unlocked even the Crossroad Roads quest. I've done maybe 1 or 2 chicken sessions. Because I just don't get all that excited about being a level 1 chicken. I mean, it's really cool that you can be a level 1 chicken. It's just not really my thing. Remember, my main character is the warrior kind of thing.
Yeah.
I can tell you that there is an entire series of chicken plays. So you take chickens, and you have to start at Sanson's farm for all of them. So you start at Sanson's farm, and you go on a time limit to various places in Middle-earth as a level 1 chicken. So you have to not get hit by any mobs. So you have to be very, very super paranoid of all of the red dots on the map.
Yes, because everything will come towards you otherwise.
Well, no, it won't. Because it's not the same. It's not the same as running an underlevel player into a higher level zone. We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
If you take a level 10 character into the Troll Shaws, stuff halfway across the Troll Shaws is going to come across the map to try to kill you. If you take a level 1 chicken into the Troll Shaws, you just have to be wary of those stealth lynxes up on the high moor.
Which means then
pounce and eat you.
This means then that having a level 10 character with the group that's guarding the chicken is a liability to the chicken then.
It could actually potentially prove more fatal to the chicken than the chicken being by itself. Absolutely.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
On the other hand, having the level 10 character out a little ways in front of where the chicken is, not too far in front because you don't want mobs to respawn behind, but just enough out in front so that you can kind of clear the way for the higher levels who, by this point, all of the mobs are gray and you can't necessarily see the floating names.
So in other words, that's why they sometimes have a low-level character that they call bait.
Yes, and it's a very fine line. That's why they tend to do practice runs to kind of figure out where exactly the bait needs to be so that it doesn't get the chicken killed.
Now, to do long runs like to Minas Tirith or to Mordor, you really do need to open up the Crosser of Roads. You have to have completed Crosser of Roads, which is a series of deeds as a chicken going various places. You go to Bree, you go to Evendim, you go to Rivendell. And the reason you want to do that is because Crosser of Roads opens up, 8 hours? I think you get 8 hours.
I think you get 8 hours to do it,
Yeah. And that's the main reason that you do.
You don't necessarily have to have completed the Crosser of Roads, but if you have completed Crosser of Roads, it opens the Minas Tirith one.
Right.
But if you at least have Crosser of Roads open, it gives you freedom, because most of the timers are shorter. I think the longest timer up before Crosser of Roads is 40 minutes, maybe.
Yeah, and that's just not enough. I mean, to go to Minas Tirith from Sansa's Farm is about a 3 to 4 hour.
Right. I thought it was an hour, but whether it's 40 minutes or an hour, you'll never get to the Minas Tirith.
It's a long trip even by war steed. I mean, even if you're not a level 1 chicken just running the whole way, it's still quite the jaunt if you're just riding it and not taking swift travels. Because I actually did it once. I war steeded from Thorin's Gate all the way down to, I think, somewhere through the Gap of Rohan down to Helm's Deep. And it took me an hour and a half.
Wow.
And for these long runs, like the one Aerthair's doing, and Hologro is he does them on regular basis. Actually, there are kins and groups who will sort of sponsor people going through, as a group to go through to complete these deeds as a chicken, and then you can do Crosser of Roads. Sansa and I did that to get our Crosser of Roads. We participated in one of those groups, but there's also people who stay in human form or elf form, hobbit form, whatever, who protect the chickens, and those are what we're calling the chicken tenders, who run ahead, and all the various classes do what they need to do, to protect the chickens. So protect the chickens at all costs, and so it's a whole strategy thing, and it's a long run. I mean, like I said, the Minas Tirith is 3 to 4 hours, and Mordor is probably going to be similar. I mean, they take a different route, so they won't go through Minas Tirith to do it. They'll go through Osgiliath, but Ithilien, but it's like a full day thing. I don't know, if there's folks who just having done, I mean, my one Hobbit has it, and it's an accomplishment, but I wouldn't do it on more than just one. I don't want to do it again. Thank you.
Yeah, there are people who have done it on multiple alts and multiple occasions, and I don't get that much excitement out of being a level 1 chicken. I mean, it's cute to do the first couple, but yeah.
The girls did it. We had one of our girls' sessions where we did it.
Yes,
which was fun.
We did. We went up to Rivendell, and I actually was one of the live chickens at the end of that.
Yeah, the sad part is
two of us that lived.
Poor Kim, she was doing really well, and we got up there, and one of those lynxes actually spawned right on top of her.
Yeah.
I mean, there was just nothing she could do. It was terrible. And actually, when Sansa and I were doing the Crosser of Roads, we were on the very last destination. And one of the group of chickens got killed right before they got to the very last.
Oh.
I was like, oh my gosh. So yeah, it's always a bummer. But anyway, so it's kind of fun. Something different to do.
Sounds like fun. I also kind of want to know if the chicken can either be picked up and dropped off the prow, or if it can run off the prow itself.
Oh, it can run off the prow. That's actually what you have to do in order to get the title. Order the Wings title.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
You run to Minas Tirith, you run all the way up to the top of Minas Tirith, because of course you can't use stable horses.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you run off the prow of Minas Tirith.
All right.
There's also a quest in Minas Tirith where you throw chickens off the prow.
Yeah. Now, here's my question then: is if you do jump off the prow of Minas Tirith as a chicken, do you flap your wings and slow down the fall so that you survive it?
Well, you flap your wings. It's not terrifically successful. From what I understand. I mean, I've never actually done it, but I've jumped off the prow multiple times as a human, and let me tell you, flapping the arms does nothing.
Well, yeah. Well, I didn't think that it would work as a human. I was just wondering if it would work as a chicken.
Chickens can't fly.
Yeah, but they can slow down their fall enough, perhaps. To remember, you do throw one off.
Not from that high.
The chicken that gets thrown off though is fine.
There's an updraft.
Yeah, the chicken you throw off is fine when you get down to the bottom.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's got a little bit more momentum because we're throwing it.
Oh, okay.
Well, with the philosophical talk about chickens going off the prow.
Yeah, it's a Tolkien thing, you know?
Yeah, so I'm sure there is something in the lore somewhere that discusses the velocity of a chicken as it is thrown off of something. Let's head into our week in LOTRO. And Cinders, what were you up to this week?
I actually didn't do a whole lot except for like the last 2 days. But I had my first ever Doomfold farmer and cook. I have a
That's an
character.
accomplishment.
I have a character that's a yeoman, and I've just been funneling money to her to have her create stuff so that she could get to a higher level. And I wouldn't have to be so reliant on Sans, and I succeeded. She's only level like 40, but she's a Doomfold farmer and cook. And then Sans' alt Calandrian, who's a runekeeper, and my main did the dailies today, and we discovered that when we're running through Lingris with the two of us and the Raven out, we can one-shot spiderlings, which doesn't sound like such an accomplishment, except that it takes forever to kill them sometimes. At least 2 or 3 shots, and by then they're already like biting you, which obviously freaks Sans out. So it was really cool that we could do it with one shot, and then so we ran the whole way instead of riding our war steeds.
Okay. Maven?
Well, I had a LOTRO first for me. My hunter, Glordriel, has completed all the Mordor deeds. It's like, to me, that is amazing. I mean, I didn't actually set out to do it, but it sort of just happened. The only thing I have left, and it'll take me a while to do, is the 2 tiers of the Scourge deeds, because you have to kill X number. It's like the roving threats. You have to kill X number of them, to get the first tier and then the second tier. So I'm still on that, and that's going to take a while, because those Scourges are pretty much 12 man, or at least most of the ones I've seen have been, you got to go as a raid. But anyway, that's amazing to me that I was able to do that. And hat tip to the, Colton, my buddy from Ploy, who took Sans and I both around. The very last thing I needed was the treasures in Talith Urwi. And actually, Terry, Sans and I have some spots in Talith Urwi we want to take you to, because she kept saying, Terry needs to see this. Oh my goodness, Terry needs to see this. So we'll have to take you out there. But once I got all the treasures there, it was like a domino. That was all that was left for like the Explorer deed and, a bunch of other stuff. So that was very cool. So I was really pleased with that. Do I want to do that on my other level caps?
No.
I doubt it. Winnie the Pooh, my Bjorning, is now 112. So she's now able and has been fitted out with her ash armor, the 112 ash armor you get from the High Enchanter. And I'm also beginning to remember how to play the OP Furball. I have a OP Furball who is like mid-60s. So, I'd already done a lot. But there's a few additional skills and whatnot, but it's just mainly getting back into it again. But she is, especially in Yellow Line, definitely an OP.
But the Pew though, because Pews, it just sounds like a hunter. Yes,
but she does have a bow. Because she was going to have her name Winnie the Pooh.
Bear with a bow, Winnie the Pooh.
Okay. She's a bear with a bow, so Winnie the Pooh. And you're right, but she's not Winnie the Pew Pew, because if she could use a bow, Pew. She would be a Pew Pew. So she's only Winnie the Pooh. So she's got, and I got her that long, really long, cool bow that looks like a piece of branch almost. So, it just seems appropriate for her. But she doesn't really use it, just like she was around with it on her back. And then I attended raid school today with Yoke of Ploy. He's a burglar. He's the one, I think, Terry, you were with us when we did Drygok. Oh, well, we did it with, he's the one that led us to, it was the leader when we did Drygok.
Okay.
Glory. And so we did experiments. We went into the giant wing, and I really recommend this. This was actually kind of cool. I mean, any size group really could do it. You just kind of pick your instance to try it out on. And so the whole point was, because we're working on doing the Abyss of Mordath, and there's all these mechanics, and it's kind of like getting, understanding sort of not just what each class does or how the mobs interact with each class, but also how we do it in coordination with one another. And the interesting part, to an earlier conversation we had today on the show, one of the experiments we tried was we sent the guard. This is really funny. He sends the guard in and says, okay, aggro the giants and the bears, and then you die. Just die. And then after that, hunters and champions, you do your AoE. So for hunters, it was the rain of arrows, it's really the only AoE we have. And then champs went in to do their AoEs. And what we were trying to see was, where would the mobs go? Would they go for the champs or would they go for the hunters? We were thinking they were going to go for the hunters. Interesting, because of the higher DPS, kind of like what you're talking about. Actually, they went for the champs. It was very interesting. So the guard went in, intentionally died, and then both the champs and the hunters let loose with, their AoEs, and the mobs turned on the champs. And I think what would happen, because we don't really use rain of arrows, I think what would probably happen in real life, in a real situation, would be, if I'm my hunter and I'm single targeting somebody and the tank dies, that guy will probably come after me, but the other people will stay with the champs. Anyway, so we were doing a bunch of that kind of stuff with different classes. It was really interesting. And I do recommend that, if you like to do group work and, kind of want to get yourselves together as like a, well-oiled machine, go into one of these instances and just try different things, and it's like Yoke said when he warned us about it, he goes, be prepared to die a lot. It may be an expensive school because you have to like res all the time. Wasn't that bad, actually. So anyway, it's really interesting to me to sort of watch different, and we had an RK and the Cappies, and so we were kind of like doing different combinations. That was really interesting. So Terry, how about you?
Well, I burned through a bunch of Mithril coins working on Volume 1 of my Arietta LM, because she's in that middle part where the travel is just kind of tedious back and forth. And it's fine getting out to the middle of nowhere to go do the whatever thing, but sometimes I just really don't want to ride all of that distance back because I'm a lazy person. So, and I had all that mithril drop not that long ago, so yeah, I'm burning through my mithril coins. I'm gonna see how many of them I can go through, trying to get this Volume 1 thing done. And I attempted the session play for the Elf Allegiance twice. Attempted twice, failed twice, and too frustrated to attempt a third time because it's oh my god. But a couple things, which at some point I'm going to try it a third time and do the bug report because I was so frustrated I didn't do the bug report before I logged out. When Lady Galadriel takes the field, her name is spelled wrong. It's Lady Galdariel. Might want to fix that, Standing Stone. The other thing is normally in session plays you don't have loot dropping, and I had all kinds of loot showing up in my bags, and I was very concerned because it's not supposed to be happening. And then the first one, Thranduil died because it doesn't say anywhere that you're supposed to keep him alive. It also doesn't tell you anywhere that he's just going to sit there on his elk and be completely useless. So, and then the second one, I died because I was surrounded by a bunch of useless elves who weren't doing anything. So I'm very salty about that instance, and I may end up not doing the Elf Allegiance.
It's a tough instance. It really is.
Because, yeah, stupid elves.
But actually, it's interesting. If you can get through it, the story is interesting. The Elf Allegiance story is really interesting.
Well, the story
really
leading up to the instance was pretty interesting, too. And actually, the story going on during the session was also fairly interesting. It's just I got very frustrated by the fact that all of these elves are standing around not doing anything. Especially since I'm session playing as an elf too. So guys, you should be helping me. I'm one of you. And then during the field trip, I got to listen to Pineleaf do some truly epic Grima narration. So I'm going to say what I said. I'm pretty sure I said this last week too. Pineleaf has like totally missed his calling for dramatic readings because I've got to tell you, we were all impressed. Like he did so we finished Wildemore, Epic Story in Wildemore, and started Epic Story in Western Rohan. And we got to that Edoras instance where Gandalf is releasing Theoden from Grima's spell, and then the aftermath where Grima's pleading to not go to war with Theoden. And so Pineleaf read all of that quest text, and he did it really, really well, and everybody was impressed. So, unfortunately, we didn't stream it, so there's no record of it anyway. But I gotta tell you, it was truly epic. Like, Standing Stone should just hire him to do Grima from now on. So Pineleaf, how was your week?
Not much left for Grima, though, I think.
A little bit left.
Yeah. My lore master quested in the Dolven View and visited several ancient dwarven libraries all over the place. And of course, you go in there, you just grab one little thing from a box and ignore all of those books that are on all of those shelves.
That would be really hard for the lore master.
I mean, yes. I mean, you want to, hey, what's in these books?
I didn't think about that when our dwarves were running through, because champions.
Yeah, champions. Yeah, who cares? But for a lore master, yes, thinking about all the books that are up on that wall, and of course you can't. I'm sure the scholars are feeling the same way on the matter.
Yeah.
And then on my Thursday group, I found a missing forge, or I guess we all found a missing forge, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah, we did. We should. Apparently, they had the forge in a lost and found apartment.
They didn't shut the door when they were done either.
Yeah. Oh, yes. And once you find it, shut the door so the goblins don't suddenly know where it's at. Yes.
Well, see, the problem with that is that if you close the doors, there's the chance that the dwarves are going to lose it again.
Well, okay. You've got a point with that. You have a point with that. Very well. And then for the field trip, we finished up our sentence in Wildermore and headed into Adoras, which is what led to that little Grima reading that Terry Edwin spoke of earlier. We currently have 19 supporters on Patreon. If you'd like to join this illustrious array of players and help support LOTRO players, simply go to the donations page where you can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. There you'll find rewards, including a mention on the podcast of your choice, or be guests with us for an episode of LOTRO Players News. We did not receive any emails this week, but if you'd like to send us one, you can send it to podcast@LOTROplayers.com. You can also follow us on Twitter, the Players Alliance, @PlayersAllied, LOTRO Players, @LOTROPlayers, Ariandis, @Ariandis, Maven, @Tolkien Maven, Pineleaf, @PineleafNeedles, Senswinda, @Senswinda, and Terry Edwin, @Terry Edwin. And you can follow our guest, Cinderina, @Emeralina.
Yeah, that would be the guardian that I've got.
Very
That
well.
was going to be my primary.
That was going to be your primary.
Yep.
All right. The Players Alliance has 2 live shows every Monday at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. We have DDO Players News, and every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have LOTRO Players News. You can join us for our live shows at LOTROplayers.com/live. And that is all for tonight, and this is PineleafNeedles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.